During the past 8 weeks, we have discussed content in the course that has helped me grow as a manager. During week 1, we discussed being managed versus managing others. I feel that being managed is important to be led by example. It motivates me to work harder and better when I see a manager who's willing to put in the same work and time as I am. They're willing to instruct and give feedback rather than just watching me fail and then disciplining me. I also feel that it's important for them to display the work ethic that they want and expect for us, from us for us. As managing others, I feel that it's important to lead by example as well. I want the subordinates to see and mirror my level of commitment to the job. I want to be able to demonstrate and set expectations for them that they're able to see exactly what it is that I want and what I'm expecting. I want to work hard for them necessarily, so they'll work hard for me. Week 2, we talked about personality traits, and we did the ocean survey, and there were many that I agreed with, and then there were a few that I was on the edge and slightly disagreed. The openness to experience and intellect. It said that I was conventional, down to earth, and uncreative with narrow interests. I felt that that was not something that you should have as a manager, and I feel that I'm actually creative, and definitely I keep an open mind to creativity. I feel that it's important to be able to come up with ideas and creative ways to keep the job interesting and so that the employees are excited to come to work every day. With conscientiousness, I agreed with this one. It said I was reliable, well-organized, and self-disciplined, which is very true through all my past experiences being in sports. It was important to, be hard on myself and stay self-disciplined, and I think as a manager, being able to come to work every day and, complete the work task by task without having necessarily somebody right above you that's forcing you to do this. As a manager, it's important to do it on your own. As far as extroversion, it said I was sociable, friendly, fun-loving, talkative, and I enjoy the company of others, which I feel to be very true, and I think it's important as a manager to build a relationship with your employees, to build that fun, talkative atmosphere in the workplace, although it's important that it's down to work or down to business and that you're getting things done as well. I'm a bit shy at first, which I feel would help to kind of build the boundaries in the relationships. Once I finally get to know you and I can open up and I feel more comfortable, I feel that I'm very talkative and very outgoing. But having that fine line between a friendship and a leadership position as a manager is very important. Agreeableness, I agreed with this one as well. It said I was neither extremely forgiving nor irritable. I feel that there are certain situations that you, as a manager, you should imply that forgiveness right away. If it's a miscommunication or something, you talk about it, you both forgive and you move past it so that it's not something that continues to haunt the workplace. For neuroticism, I slightly agreed and slightly disagreed. It said tend to become anxious or nervous. I feel that my anxiousness is in order to finish stuff. I'm anxious to get it done with. I'm anxious to see the results, and sometimes that could be good, sometimes that could be bad. So finding that fine balance between the anxiousness and the excitement is important as a manager. Week 3, we discussed experience with punishment and versus rewards as motivating tools. I feel that one is a negative and one is a positive. As far as the punishment as motivation, I feel that that's more of a threatening and negative scare tactic to get your employees to perform well. I use the example in practice in my coaching position that the girls are working in fear of messing up rather than working towards success. They're afraid to fail because they don't want to do the punishment that's coming. As far as a reward, I feel that it's more of a positive approach. You're working in excitement, you're anxious for the reward and for that sense of achievement. An example of that is in my position at the credit union. Each month, our goal for the member service representatives, which is a teller position, our goal is to get 5 Visa credit card applications approved a month. Once we reach those 5, then each teller that had one of those applications filled out gets a $10 reward or a $10 bonus at the end of the month, which is kind of an incentive. That reward is something that you can look forward to, that excites you to promote that visa. So that's kind of a positive. Week 4 was experience using nonverbal, non-written communication in an organizational setting. The body language, the tone of voice, the eye contact, the spatial cues, those different things are very important in a workplace. As far as body language, I use the example of body language and tone of voice. I use the example of in the morning when the CEO is walking into the building, and you can tell what kind of day it is when you see her. If she comes in with an excited, good morning, how are you? How was this? I saw you did this last night on Facebook. If she comes in with something like that, you know it's kind of going to be a good day. You know that she's in a good mood. She's portraying that body language of a positive atmosphere. On other days she comes in and her tone of voice is kind of, good morning, how are you today? Doesn't stop at your station to ask more questions, just kind of goes right into the office and gets straight to work. You know, it's kind of going to be more of a serious, not so relaxed, you know, down to business day. As far as spatial cues, I feel that as a manager it's very important. If it's something that's confidential and something that's you know, more of a one-on-one conversation, the conversation and the distance between you and your subordinate is going to be a little bit closer. As far as, you know, a more relaxed atmosphere, you know, a little more distance between you kind of shows that the conversation isn't as serious. Maybe it is work related, but it's kind of just a, how's this project going, you know, vice versa. Eye contact is huge in management. You want your employees to feel well respected by you, and that's one way to portray that. When you're having a conversation with them, it needs to be, you know, eye contact. You need to know, they need to know that you're focused on them. You shouldn't be working on other things. You shouldn't be writing head down, writing notes. You know, try and keep your eyes up, knowing that you're listening and you're taking in what they're sharing with you. Week 5 was experiences with intercultural communications. This one I'm kind of experiencing right now in my coaching position. We have 2 girls that came in. One was from Italy and one was from Canada. So that language barrier, which is something that we'll deal with as management. Not necessarily speaking a different language, however, the backgrounds that people come from, as far as different words that they're using could mean something from the background that you came from. So as a manager, it's important to understand and to know the background of each of your employees so that there's not those miscommunications, or if there are miscommunications, you can address it and work through it. So then we have week 6, which was positive, negative experiences working with groups. I feel that negative experiences typically come from those that are unmotivated or miscommunication once again. You know, in college there was a lot of group work, and you always had a few groups that there was one or two people that wouldn't show up to the group meeting, so they wouldn't know what's going on. They wouldn't submit their work to the group on time. And so that was kind of frustrating because you didn't know if they were actually going to finish it or if you were going to have to, you know, take over for them. So being able to reflect on that is important. As a manager, giving the employees the opportunity to come in if it was like a huge group project and they felt that there was a problem and they wanted to share with you that so-and-so didn't get this this section done, and so the rest of the group had to strive to finish by a certain date. Positive is usually, when everyone's collectively finishing the project and task. Everyone had their work done on time. Everyone submitted their sections to that group leader to throw it all together. They had the opportunity to meet and talk, or if they were unable to meet, they used effective communication, which is very difficult. For example, in this course, when we had to do our TED Ed videos, presentations, luckily I was fortunate enough to have a group where all three of us were in the area, so we were able to meet and to talk things out that way. Otherwise, it would have been a little more difficult as far as communicating through email, making sure that everyone was on the same page. So effective communication and group work is definitely important. Personal experiences in handling conflict in organizations. I feel like a lot of conflict comes from miscommunications, misunderstandings, and as a manager, it's important to get both sides of these of the conflict, meet with each party and make sure that your understanding of the conflict, that what party A feels and what party B feels, and then bring them together, and as a manager kind of oversee that and make sure that they work something out so that it doesn't happen again. As far as conflict in organizations, I feel that it's very important to address the situation right away. Whether you address it to the group as a whole, to all of your employees in a group, in an employee meeting first, and then if that person, that specific individual that was brought to your attention doesn't change, then it's important to go right to that person. You want to catch conflict before it spirals out of hand. So you don't want to just avoid it and overlook it, because it will come back to hurt you in the end. As far as my article that I chose an article about employee commitment in the workplace, and I believe that this goes back to week 1, where it talks about managing others and finding that leading by example is going to express that level of commitment that's necessary in the workplace. If I'm coming to work 100% committed every day, 100% giving 100% effort on a daily basis, it's going to be much easier for my employees to do so as well, to be committed. It's also important to create a workplace that they feel comfortable, that they're excited and motivated to come to every day, so that they're willing to give that commitment that's needed to be successful. Overall, I feel that I've grown from this course. I was able to look at the personality traits and realize if this is what the results were, that I'm not maybe I don't have the traits that I necessarily thought I did. So it kind of made me look at myself and make sure that I'm understanding the importance of these different traits. Body language, tone of voice, those nonverbal communication tools that I necessarily don't think of on an everyday basis. But in my 2 different organizational settings, it's very important to portray body language that you want to be there, and that tone of voice, so that there's like a fine line between anger and discipline, which is important. So I've definitely grown in the past 8 weeks, and I'm excited to see what this content can help me with in the future in management positions. Thank you.